Let's talk about Loot Council. Welcome back to another Bit Legend video, fellas. This one's going to be a little bit longer of a video. I'm going to ramble on about Loot Council and my philosophy and running guilds and things like that. So if you're interested in that, buckle up. If not, no big deal. I'll catch you in the next video. But here we are. And what I'm doing right now is I'm showing you through just a handful of loot we've gotten recently. The change with Guild Boss 4 dropping at least 3 set pieces is massive. We're actually seeing loot now, so that's exciting. And I'll finish this little run of loot. Again, remember that this only shows the most recent 20 loot that has gone through your auction, so it won't show everything. But suffice to say, we got some loot, and with, a wise man once said, more loot means more problems. And it doesn't really have to be that way. So I'll talk about my philosophy, how I run things. If you like it, you can, take that and make it your own. If you don't like it, you can learn from what I'm doing that you don't like, and you can learn from that and do your own thing. But you get where we're going. I gotta say, I'm very fortunate that I have a good group of people, because it's made this whole process super easy. We haven't had any crazy situations or anything like that. So if you're looking for drama time, I don't really have any for you. There was a player that went crazy and did a bunch of loot. I don't even know what to call it. He just bid on everything in a bunch of different guilds, and people posted screenshots of him with his name tagged on everything. And so that got out. So I'd say be good to your community. It's a big community, but it's small enough, and with the internet and communication and whatnot, if you do something questionable, people are going to hear about it, and that's not going to give you a good game experience, and that's not the kind of community that you want to create anyways. As far as our guild, we haven't had any issues. Nothing that comes to mind. But yeah, so first things first, I was listening to a director talk about his commentary on a movie, and the first thing he said is, as a director, the most important job that he has is to hire the right people. Hire the right actors, hire the right people that do whatever jobs we're talking about. And I think that carries over, especially to a guild. Your most important job running a guild, whether you're an officer, guild leader, whatever, is recruitment. Not only recruiting people that, strong people that can do big stuff, but also people that you're going to want to deal with, you're going to want to work with. You hire the right people, everything is a lot more enjoyable, and it's a lot easier. So that's the first thing. So spend some time talking to the people that you're going to get in your guild if you're a serious guild. It's worth the 5-minute, 15-minute, however many minute conversation of making sure that you guys have the same goals. Because if you have the same goals, then everything's going to be a lot easier. It's a lot easier to move people in the direction if everybody wants to go in the same direction. I'm going to run raids in the background just to kind of give something. Ooh, somebody changed their total stats. What's going on? Gibby. Look at you. Gibby's also going to upgrade. He's going to get the set piece head. Gibby, look at that, man. I'm going to put Vashir back on. I don't want to change anything just yet. Oh no, Gibby, man, you're making big moves. Anyways, looks good to me. Let's jump in. Like I said, I'm going to do loop battles on the raid while I'm chit-chatting, so I can put my brain cells on this conversation. But anyway, so step one, you want to pick the right people for the team, people that you want to hang out with, and people that are that have the same goal as you. If half of my guild don't want to log in every day or don't want to log in every week, there's nothing that I could do as a guild leader to change that. All I could do is put them in a guild that has the same goal as them, and then they'll be happy. And then my people, I can get more people that want to be a little bit more progressive and push stuff, and just coordinate people around their common interests. That's what you got to do. And in that scenario, it's not this person's right, this person's wrong. It's just you're not a good fit. So we got to find out where you are a good fit. And we can do that. Also, since my guild has sub-guilds, we'll have people from time to time that'll come to me and say, hey, I'm super busy. I'm able to go back to work. I'm going to be super busy. I can't play a ton, but I don't want to just lose a guild or be out. Can you put me down into the sub-guild and rotate somebody up? Absolutely. I'm very fortunate to be in that situation. Well, we created that situation. But it is nice to have that resource. That's helpful for us as well. But we can rotate people up, rotate people down. Not that big of a deal. So that's pretty good. What else as far as the structure of the guild? If you're curious about Unity, we don't actually, we don't encourage or push anybody to push or grind or whatever. It's one of those things. If you want to grind, yeah, tell us all about it. And, if people are grinding, they'll give us something to talk about. But I'll never come and say, we need more GVG. Hey, everybody do at least 1 million GVG points or something. That's never going to happen. But at the same token, I have like-minded people that they're going to push on their own. So it kind of comes down to intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. If I get a bunch of people that I have to keep pushing them to go do content, I'm going to have to push them forever as long as they're in my guild. And so that's just not what I want to do anyways. So I've chosen some people. But like I said, we do have a couple free-to-plays and people being casual in the whole mix. We don't really push anybody. We're just very focused on when we do things. So that's something to think about. What else? I think that pretty much wraps up what we're doing here. As far as a guild, I said it's, we all have one goal. I should probably talk about what that goal is. The goal is to clear all the guild bosses as possible every week. So if the max we can kill the guild bosses is 3 times a week, there you go. That's the goal. Do it 3 times a week, all the bosses. And that's where we're at. We should be so close to doing the 3rd boss the 3rd time this week. We'll see how that goes. We got some upgrades. We made some moves. We've done some things. I think we're able to get it now. And then our other goal, since Guild Boss 5 has just come, we want to get him down to 60%. That way we'll get that extra loot drop right there. So that'll be cool. And I'll keep you guys updated on how that goes. But anyway, so I talked about Loot Council. Let me actually start off and have a Loot Council chat. First things first, you need to have a communication system, probably Discord. Discord's super easy to use. Everybody uses it. If you do anything involving gaming, and even if it's not gaming, you should have Discord. If you're not doing it by now, you're intentionally crippling yourself in any sort of community-based thing. So get Discord. And it's easy to set it up for your guild. I have a guild channel, a guild boss channel, and then a loot channel. Those are pretty much all you really need. Loot conversation goes in the loot channel. I post the loot rules in there, how we do bidding and loot council and all that, so it's easy to find. Guild bosses just chat on, okay, we need to reset the bosses, this is up, et cetera, and then just general chat. But make your life easy, get everybody in there. My requirement for any of the guilds that I'm overseeing, you must have Discord and be in the server. You must respond to pings, and we really try not to ping anybody that when it's not needed. Be active and follow the loot rules. And so what are the loot rules? Let's go there. The loot rules, it's a little bit detailed, and maybe you'll find a more simple way to do this. But let me see if I can pull them up so I don't have to go from memory. Okay, so our loot rules, it's a little bit split up. We kind of let people do what they were going to do and see how it worked out, and then we kind of evolved from there. First things first is most guilds are not going to have a lot of tanks. Right now, if guilds really want to min-max, the max tanks they want right now are 6. You can get away with less, actually. So 6 tanks. There you go. The reason why you don't want more tanks is because DPS players do more damage than tanks, and everybody needs more guild boss damage. So if you have extra tanks on there, you're doing less guild boss damage than you should be doing otherwise. And you might want to consider that. If you really like your guild, but you really want to be a tank, you might want to consider playing DPS. Maybe you're saving some tank gear, because in the future, you never know. Maybe they come out with another Guild Boss 5 style fight, and we need a tank in the front and a tank in the back in every team. Then we would need 12 tanks. You see what I'm saying? So is that 12? Yeah, it's 12. So you never know, and flexibility is going to help your guild leader out a lot. But as it is right now, and they haven't announced any new guild bosses, because this one just came out, 6 tanks is plenty, and you need as much damage as you can get. Also, anybody out there that's playing a tank, if you have excess gear and you have enough that you could actually put on a DPS set and actually play as a DPS character just for Guild Boss 1 through 4, you really should consider it, because you'll probably do like at least 4 times the amount of damage. So if your tank gear is finished and you have extra materials, consider doing that, because that would help some folks. We're not doing that in my guild yet, but I'm probably going to be there pretty soon. And like I said, every little bit helps. Anyways, loot rules, where are we? Okay, so the reason I'm talking about tanks is because we split everything off. Since there's only 5 or so tanks in my guild, they all have their own separate Discord conversation, and they just chat about stuff in there. We got guys doing different builds, so there's only a couple places where there's overlap where people want the same piece. Some of our guys are doing Thunder Fury, some of our guys are not, etc. So we just chat. An item drops, hey, who wants the hat? And someone's like, I want it. Okay, we make a case, talk about it, they decide. My healers do the same thing, and I don't have any, I don't do anything with the healers. They handle their own business. I just have them come to me and tell me what the result is. And if there's any conflicts, bring it to me, but there hasn't been. So they do the same thing. They have their chat. And we have like 3 or 4 healers, 5 healers. Honestly, if it was up to me, I probably would, this would probably be better in a separate video, but I would probably remove the healer class, convert all healer gear into DPS gear, because DPS, they heal so well that they're basically the same thing at this point, but that'll be a different conversation. As it is right now, we've got like 3 or 4 healers, and they handle their loot. That leaves us with around 20 DPS players that basically all want the same thing. So that is why you need a loot council. Small groups of 5, group of 6, that's fine. They can handle their own business. But it is nice to kind of have somebody having the final say if there's anything that gets stuck, if there's a tie. But DPS, you got about 20 DPS players in a guild. Everybody wants almost the same stuff. How do you deal with that? It's very difficult. And usually a guild will start to separate a little bit, not like politically separate, but the top players in the guild will be top players, the middle players in the guild will be middle players, there'll be that little gap in between. And then you have to decide, do I give loot to the top players, and then maybe the lower performers feel like they're starving out, or do I give loot to the bottom players and help bring them up? Well, let's talk about both those scenarios. Let's talk about the last scenario first. If I give really good loot to the lowest performing players, here's the argument for that. They have the worst gear, therefore they would have the biggest upgrade per piece. The downside is your top players are going to get tired of that really, really quick. I've been in enough guilds and enough games, I've seen all these different variations happen. And if after a week, a month, however long it takes, if the top players keep seeing other players that kind of in their minds aren't working for it as much as they are, why are they getting the rewards when I'm doing all the work? That doesn't make any sense, right? So you kind of want to find a way to have the balance of rewarding people that are doing the progress. Also, keep in mind, the top players in your guild are the ones they're your raid team. They're carrying everybody through raids. They're doing most of the damage in the guild boss. You want to keep that all in consideration. And so that brings us to the second option. Giving the best in slot to the top players in the guild. This could be 5 people, this could be 10 people, kind of depends on how your guild separates and splits out. And when I think about guild loot, any loot where the guild is the one deciding, because I mean you have to think about it. This is a mobile game that has legitimate rating systems and has a loot council. How many mobile games actually have like a legit loot council and something that's actually considerably a raid? Like Radiation Zone is not really a raid. It's just a different dungeon. This is a raid because you use all your guild teams, you coordinate everybody together, you actually have to raid together. This is actual raid. Anyways, so as far as giving out loot, when we talk about the loot, the guild loot, the best way I've had it explained, the best way I've seen it work out is guild loot actually belongs to the guild. The guild dropped it. Yes, people helped. Everybody did a ton, but the guild dropped it. It's guild loot, and the loot should be used to help the guild as much as possible. That means killing more bosses. So the number one factor for me to decide where loot goes is not who's my best friend or this or that or whatever. It's what is going to kill more guild bosses. Because the more guild bosses we kill, the more loot we get. that scarcity that causes this whole loot council problem in the first place starts to go away as you're killing more bosses. Also, it is helpful that if you do things right, you're going to be killing so many bosses, nobody's going to leave your guild. So even if you make a mistake or whatnot, or a temporary mistake, most mistakes are temporary. Nobody's going to leave your guild if you're doing things right because you're killing all these guild bosses. So like I said, the way I see it is, where can I put loot that will help the guild the most? And a lot of that will be putting the best in slot on the top performers, because if I give this guy a necklace, he's going to do 2 million more damage per attack. If I give this guy a necklace, he's going to do 500,000 damage more per attack. Which one's going to kill your guild? The guild boss, right? And on top of it, if you're improving the raid team that everybody's using, if I give someone on my raid team an item, I've just helped at least 30 people, actually probably 130 people, because they've got 100 friends and there's 30 people using the raid and so on, and those things trickle down. If my raid team's stronger, I get more gear and I can help my friends, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's the biggest impact for a lot of people. But that's pretty much it. There's other factors that I consider, but the number one is, where can I put this piece of loot that will help the guild the most? Other things that I consider is this your BIS, your best in slot? I require all of my players to make a quick little spreadsheet just to write down what's their item that they're wearing right now, and what is their best in slot. If my players don't tell me what gear they want, I can't give it to them, right? It'll be a mess. So I need to know what people want, because not everybody wants the same build. You could argue that there is a definitive best in slot, like this is the actual best build for DPS period, but not everybody can do that. And maybe not everybody wants to do that. So best in slot for me is relative based on what you can do. Other things that I consider, do you have enough materials to max the item? I don't want to give a piece of loot to somebody and they're going to get it +3, and then a month later and be like, why is this item not upgraded, right? And we've had plenty of time before the loot drops were fixed where people weren't getting loot, so people should have been stacking up resources during that time, and it doesn't take too much to upgrade these things. Refining is also something to talk about. I recently posted a video of refining. I was able to +10 an item with around 4 million gold. That's not horrible. And if we're talking best in slot set pieces and stuff like that, I want my people to refine +10. I'm not going to push my guild into, oh, you have to +15. If you're not +15, you're not serious. I don't want to make it some sort of like wallet war situation where people are doing that. But +10 is not unreasonable. And if somebody has a reason or whatever, like, hey, I can only +5 now, but by next week I'll +10 or something like that, it's part of their conversation that I want to know what's going on. Because if I'm going to give it to this guy and he's going to +10 it, and you're not going to upgrade it all the way, that's going to decide my decision right there. Will it give you a set bonus? What bonus? Are you going to get +10 crit? Are you going to get +5 hit points? It depends. Are you getting a set bonus as a help? That doesn't decide everything. That can be a big problem. Let's say this is a realistic scenario. Somebody got the headpiece and other people didn't want it. But a big concern was, well, hey, if he gets the headpiece, does that mean he gets the necklace next? Because I really need the necklace. And so that is why it's part of the conversation, but it's not the slam dunk on the conversation. Just because someone has the helmet doesn't mean I'm going to give away the necklace to the same guy because they're going to get 10% crit or whatever it is. It is part of what I'm considering, but it is not. It's not the slam dunk. The slam dunk really is what's going to kill the guild boss, because that means more loot. But it's something I'm looking at. What else? How much total stats gain? This one's actually worth talking about, because let's say one player has a crappy epic item. We've all been there before. And the other player has a raid 6 mythic item. And the other player wants to go from their raid 6 mythic to guild boss, which is essentially raid 8. And, so player 1 says, hey, I've got this epic piece of crap. This will give me more total stats than him. And the other guy says, yeah, but I'm working twice as hard. I'm putting up big numbers. This is going to get me to my best in slot. I'm going to do more with this item. Where do you think I'm going to put the item? I'm going to give it to the guy who's going to do more with it, because the slam dunk, again, is what's going to kill the boss. but I'm still looking out for that. I understand. It also does it doesn't feel great upgrading an item that you know that you're going to replace. Some of us have raid 6 stuff, and they know that it's not the end goal for them. They really want that raid 8, but it's not dropping. I get it. But I can't have a system that rewards sandbagging, even if it's unintentional. You got some items and you don't want to upgrade them. I get it, but again, what's going to kill the guild boss, right? So the best advice I can give you guys is create whatever system in your guild that doesn't systematically encourage sandbagging and people having bad gear. It's been so bad in other raiding games where right after the raid, when you killed the boss, people would put on their shittiest gear. That way, when the loot council would look at the players, they'd say, well, this guy's got a broken pair of bracers and he doesn't have any boots and he's not even wearing any pants. We got to get him gear. People used to do that kind of skeezy stuff, and I know what everybody's wearing right now. I'm watching you. And I think that pretty much wraps up my thought process. So based on those things that I just listed, what I have, since there's 20 people I got to deal with DPS, I have, when an item drops, I'll post it in the chat and I'll say, if anybody wants this item, post your case. And the case will have, again, is it your best? Do you have materials to upgrade it +4? Are you planning on refining? How much? Will it give you a set bonus? What bonus? How much total stats will you get? Any other relevant info that would help me make the decision. And there you go. I personally prefer doing all this loot conversation out in open. I just kind of keep my boys from chatting too much in the loot chat. And that's pretty much it. If people want to pass, they'll say they pass. Once I kind of tally everything up, I'll give people some time and say, hey, is there anything I'm missing here? I'm leaning towards player 1 because of X, Y, and Z. And I'll just give people time to chat. As a guild leader, if people feel like they have the chance to talk about stuff and everything's out and open, it makes the job a lot easier. I don't have to deal with like 30 people whispering me at the same time, because that'll be a mess either way. And it pretty much does it. Also, I like my decisions out in the open. It gives people a chance to talk about it. But also, if you make the right decision, people will usually kind of piggyback and say, I agree with player 1. They're going to do more with this. That's the reason why I passed, because I thought it would be better going to them. They're on my raid team. This is going to help me too. There's only 4 other people that want this item anyway, so the list is getting shorter, things like that. And it takes a lot of pressure off you. A lot of people are uncomfortable with being loot council. So you can do those things to make it easier for yourself, and then everything's super easy. I like everything out in the open. Anybody got a problem with me, I want to hear it. But I do let people DM me as well. If someone wants to be private, and that's totally fine too. But if you do it with a system like that, you might change it or do whatever you want. Your system's going to be good, and you'll have the least amount of problems. And the best part is you'll answer all the questions before people have them. A big question might be, he got the helmet. Does that mean he gets the necklace? Why can't I speak? This guy got the helmet. Is he going to get the necklace next? You can just answer that already, because people are going to ask that, or just whatever. One thing I wanted to make clear is that, right now I'm kind of focusing on the carries of the guild because I need to kill guild bosses, but I don't want my middle performers and lower performers to feel like they are going to get passed up on loot. Also, the other thing is, when I post an item and everybody who is interested remarks on it or whatever, they show interest, the list isn't that long. I think we've only had maybe like 5 people want the same item once, and then once everybody saw who was there, people kind of pulled their bid in and out and this and that, and it kind of cleared out a little bit, because sometimes these scenarios are very clear, and you can see, okay, this guy is going to do twice as much damage as me with this item. I mean, there's no real argument about that. So that's really good. Only problem is going to be the Slayer necklace. So that's just, it is what it is right now. We have put in suggestions for a new DPS necklace to be added to Raid 8, and we've suggested that it be added to the set bonus. Hopefully that will get through and be in the announcements, but nothing is an official. Even if I talk about it in a video, nothing is official until it's in the announcements, so don't misconstrue that. But the issue with the Guild Boss necklace is that there's no other DPS necklace that has the same amount of total stats. So since there's only one option, I have seen my DPS boys send me tons of builds. You can basically make any build with any combination of Raid 8 and Guild Boss set pieces, whether you're using the Guild Boss device or whether you're not, or you're using the weapon or not, or this or that. You can make great builds with any combination there. There's some that are a little bit better than others, and it depends on what amplifiers you have and all that good stuff. But everything's viable. However, the only good necklace for a DPS player is the Guild Boss Slayer necklace. That's it. It's the only good necklace, period. So obviously that's going to be a problem for any guilds. If you are doing loot council and you're having a really big struggle with that, that's very difficult. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's just because there's only one item in the game, everybody's going to want it. And so that's going to be a little bit sour. But I'm hearing a lot of other guilds that are killing guild bosses. Guild Boss 4 is getting killed. I think D either killed it or they're about to kill it. So that is awesome. I know EZ has it pretty much on farm. I don't know how many times. And like I said, we are going to kill it. I'll put my money on the table. We're going to kill it 3 times this week. I really don't have any. I'm very confident about that. I don't have any reason why that wouldn't happen. And I think these bosses will be rolling. We'll be getting loot. It'll all be good. Trying to think if I forgot anything. It's been a crazy day, fellas. Dude, every day I'm having this crazy day. I think it's just how 2020 is just going to be. But pretty much does it. Yeah. What else? So there you go. I like doing stuff out in the open. Make a loot bidding rule. Pin it somewhere that everybody can see. You should even add a little reaction on there and say something that says, put this reaction, thumbs up, whatever. If you have read this, showing that you read it, whatever you want to word that. And it's pretty straightforward. Make sure people do that. Also, when I invite people to the guild, I very, very clearly explain how loot goes, the loot council goes. I do weigh how much contribution, not the actual number, but like how much work someone's put in the guild. That is in my mind when I'm making loot decisions. But let's say I get some new DPS player that's super strong. I'm not going to hold them back for a week or 2 weeks or anything like that just because they're new to the guild. That's stupid. Doesn't make any sense. I'm going to do it based on what people can do, what their contribution is, et cetera, et cetera. If we get somebody who's a new DPS that's really strong that jumps to the front of the list, that's their place. And as long as they plan on staying with the guild, I don't imagine where else they'd go. But if they're going to be sticking around, then I'm going to treat them like family and everything's good and everybody's going to abide by the rules. It's all good. But for anybody looking for drama, really haven't had any. I haven't really had any issues at all. We joined this guild. Unity was formed before most of us were even on the server, super early. And so we had a bunch of people that weren't like-minded. It was just some friends that we knew that was in this guild, and the guild got handed to them as a guild leader. So, like I said, step 1 is identifying what everybody's goals are. What is the guild goal? And everybody that's not with that goal, okay, we got to move them somewhere. So whether we create another guild or whatever, and people that want that casual pace, because people that want that, that's fine. But like, if you try to bang a round peg into a square hole, it's just going to be a pain for everybody. But as soon as we got everybody on the same page, it took me like 4 days, everybody's good, everybody's happy, and that's all it is. We killing bosses over here, boys. We killing bosses. The search for Thunder Fury continues. We have killed 1 through 3 twice, and we're killing Guild Boss 4 the second time right now. No Thunder Furies. I don't know if anybody noticed, but we picked up Chinese. We picked up Chinese 6'9". He has the Thunder Fury right piece. I have the left piece, and he won't give it to me. Not that he could, but he won't. I know he won't. So that's fine. We're kind of racing each other to see who finishes Thunder Fury first. Maybe none of us do. I don't even know. But that is the situation. We have Lackey on tank. He's played tank for us in other games, and he decided to switch back to tank. I think part of it So without making things too long, I will wrap this one up. I think I'll probably try to cap these videos at 30 minutes. I think that's pretty juicy. As always, I appreciate you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video.